I just want to introduce myself really quick. I'm Beth's first grade teacher. I have enjoyed teaching her this year, and I'm going to go over this meeting really quick and just talk about some areas of growth and strengths. Before we start this meeting, I just wanted to ask, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm good, thank you. So the first thing I'm going to go over is the Scarborough's rope, which is basically what we use in order to see how successful they're doing on their assessments. So one of the things we do when we're doing our assessments is we go over vocabulary and we see what their language structure is and how they're able to understand what they're reading, which is word recognition. Obviously, we want them to read fluently, but they have to also understand what they're reading. So, for the first assessment we did today or the other day was a phonological awareness assessment, which is just going over like rhyming and segmenting. So, breaking up those words into different parts. So, example, if they have the word cat, they're able to hear all the different sounds like at, and they're able to understand that each word, each individual letter makes its own sound. So, for her assessment, during the phonological awareness assessment, her strength was that she was able to understand the beginning sounds. So, for example, in the word bed, she was able to hear the b sound at the beginning. And an area for growth in that assessment was she was unable to change initial sounds, which is the same thing like the beginning sound. But for example, one of the things we had was gum. So I told her gum, and then I told her to change the word g to th to make it a new word, which was thumb. She was unable to do that on some of the assessments, which it could be because some of the words that she was changing it to was a digraph. So a th is a digraph. And a digraph is just two letters that make one sound. So sometimes that can be a little complicated for students that are in first grade and for them to understand that concept. Do you have any questions regarding that assessment?
No.
Okay. The next assessment that we went over was the phonics and the word spelling survey, which this helped her demonstrate the knowledge in reading and phonics, and it helped her understand that each sound together makes a new word and also helps the student sound out. So for her strength, she was able to identify uppercase and lowercase letters, which is amazing. And for her growth, she struggled to read high frequency words, which just like sight words. Sight words are those basic words that you see and on this one, she got a 9 out of 35 on this section of the assessment. I did notice that she became frustrated when she was struggling to read the sight words. Have you noticed anything like this at home as far as reading sight words where she struggles to read those basic words like he, thee, you?
Yeah, sometimes when she's trying to read at home, sometimes she'll like call me over to help her out and I'll like sound it out for her, but she also gets frustrated here.
Yes, okay. So I've noticed that as well in the classroom. And at the end of this meeting, we'll go over some ways that we can help her in the classroom and at home in order to be successful with reading sight words. Do you have any questions regarding this assessment?
No.
Okay. The next assessment that we're going to talk about is the elementary spelling inventory assessment. And this assessment is where I read the words aloud to her and then Beth had to write the words. She was able to, for her strength, she was able to identify the beginning and the final sounds in the words. For example, the word cat again, she was able to hear the k and the t. So she was able to hear that first and that last sound, which is great. And it helps her whenever she is reading those words to sound them out. A growth that she had was she was unable to understand the concept of long vowels. When she was asked to word the word place, she wrote PLAS, and that was a struggle that I noticed that she was had occurring throughout the assessment when it had words with long vowels. Have you ever seen any struggles with her with long vowels at home?
I have a little bit. She struggles a lot with writing, so I'm not surprised if she did get frustrated as you were testing her on this.
Yes, I've noticed that as well. And like I said, just like with the other assessment, I'm going to go over some things that we can do in the classroom and at home to make her more successful with those areas of growth. Do you have any questions regarding this assessment?
No.
Okay, so the last assessment that I'm going to go over is the language comprehension assessment, which this assessment is seeing their ability to comprehend what they're reading. So she read a story which was on grade level, which was a little bit more difficult for her, but she did read that story, and then at the end she had to answer questions. So she read the story and she was only able to get to 10 words per minute because one of her gross growth that she had was she was struggling to read like sight words again. Just like that previous assessment where she struggled to read the sight words. She struggled to read the sight word he, um, which is one of the more common sight words. And so due to her struggling with the word he, which was at the beginning of the assessment, she was only able to read 10 words per minute. So we want to make sure that we're understanding the sight words and able to read them out. That way she is able to read her passages a little bit more fluently. But also one great thing she did was she was able to use very descriptive words when answering her questions. So when asked about the story, she was able to give me very descriptive words like lovely, or she was able to give me more explicit words that explained what she was talking about. Is there any questions you have regarding this assessment?
No.
Okay. And some instructional steps that we will be using in the classroom, like I said, in order to make sure that she is growing in those areas. We're going to work on sight words in the classroom. So I'll give her 10 sight words a day in the morning before we start our morning meeting. And she'll be reading out those sight words to me. And once she is able to understand and read the sight words, we'll then move on to a new set of 10. So instead of giving her a whole sight words list at once, because that can be a little bit overwhelming, especially if you don't understand the sight words that you're reading and can be kind of frustrating. I'm just going to give her 10 at once, have her read those 10, and then once she's able to read them fluently and consistently, then we'll move on to another set of 10. That way she is able to learn her sight words. It might take her a little bit longer, but that way she'll be more efficient when she's reading them. Do you have any questions regarding that?
Will these sight words be sent at home too, or just during school hours?
Yes, these sight words will be sent as home as well, and I will go over that next, but yes, they will be sent as home.
Okay.
And the next thing that I have is we're going to be working on those long vowels, which was one of the other things that she needed to grow on in an assessment, and just teaching her the concept of long vowels, that sometimes long vowels, they have the E at the end, and that makes the vowel say its name. And also practicing writing those long vowel words and reading them. That way she's able to read those words and write them when it comes to reading a book or maybe writing in during our writing segment. And that way she'll be more fluent with that. Do you have any questions regarding that?
No.
Okay. And then what we can do at home, and please let me know if you have any questions, but one of the things that I'll be sending home, like we just previously talked about, will be the sight words list. I will give you the same cards that I have at the school. That way it's more consistent. So she's able to see exactly what I'm doing at home is going to be what I'm going to be doing in the classroom. So I'll give you 10 words and I will have them in different colors. That way you know which words will go together. Those 10 words will be the first ones that you'll have her read to you. And then once she's able to read all of those words correctly, and maybe I would probably have her reading them correctly, maybe at least once she reads them correctly, maybe doing it 2 more days after that. That way you know that she's actually reading them correctly and that it's more consistent. Then I would move on to a new set of 10 words and then the same thing. As soon as you start noticing that she's reading all of them correctly, maybe have her doing them 2 days after that. That way she is reading them consistently and then doing a new set of 10. Do you have any questions regarding that?
No.
Okay. And then once she is able to read all of her sight words, then that's when you can start mixing them up and seeing her and combining all the sight words. It might be a little overwhelming, like I said, to give her all the sight words at once, but that way we chunk it into smaller pieces. She'll be more successful that way. And then the next thing that you can do at home is I'm going to give you an on level passage. So it won't be something that's on grade level for her, but it'll be something that she'll be able to read more fluently. And so she'll read this passage with you. If she does have any frustrations with any of the words, I would let her try and read it herself. And then once you notice that she is getting really frustrated, that's when I would step in and then start sounding out the word for her, or maybe sounding out together. Like maybe you try and then I can help you after that. Doing something like that. That way she is more independent when reading, but she still has you there for some support. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Okay. And then the last thing that I'm going to send home is a tap it out chart, which I will give you a list of words, and these words can have diagraphs, like I previously stated. In one of her assessments, she was struggling with changing the initial sound, and it may have been because of the digraph, which was the TH. Like I said previously, some first grade students do struggle with digraphs. So I'll give you some words that maybe have some digraphs and some long vowels. That way we can still work on our long vowels. Um, you'll give her the word, you'll just tell her a word, for example, place. She'll then sound out each sound of the word and write it in the box. So for a more simple example that I can give you is dog. She would sound out each sound. So dog, she would hear the d sound, write the D in the first box, the O in the second box, and the G in the third box. So she would be splitting up that word, which is called segmenting. She would be doing each sound in each individual box. Do you have any questions regarding that?
No.
Okay, perfect. Well, that is all I have. Like I said, I have enjoyed teaching her this school year, and there's definitely a lot of areas of strength, and I'm very proud of her. Even though she does get a little bit frustrated with some of her sight work, she's able to tackle through those frustrations and continue going. And that's what I love most about teaching her is she's just willing to keep going even though things are hard. But if you don't have any more questions for me, like I said, I will send all of these literacy resources home with her, and then you will have them, or I will send them home in her folder. That way you have them.
Well, I appreciate the time you took to explain everything to me and for the help you've been giving my child.
Perfect. Thank you so much for meeting with me. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.